Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm gonna teach you how to play Spear. Now Spear is a really easy weapon to like pick up and master, but what a lot of people don't know is it's a weapon that could get you punished really easily. Alright, so let's start off by describing each move individually and like what they're used for. So we have Endlight. This move is really good in neutral to win stage control because it boxes your opponent out and keeps your opponent at a far distance from you. And you also have like some options to follow up with depending on what your opponent does, which we'll discuss later. And then we have Sidelight, which is your main string starter, your main string move. So of course you have stuff like D-Light and a bunch of other stuff which we'll talk about as well. Now the thing about Sidelight is there's a lot of recovery time on miss. So if you miss this move, you best believe you're going to get punished for it. Which is why like you kind of have to play calculated on Spear. What a lot of people don't realize is they'll just start throwing out a bunch of Sidelights in neutral and then they'll heavily get punished for it. You kind of don't want to approach with Sidelight like that. So yeah, so use Sidelight with caution and make sure you're calculated with it as like a punish tool. And then of course you have Dare. Dare is like an incredible move. I feel like it's really underrated, especially offstage potential with Dare. Dare you could use like to keep your opponent, to edgeguard your opponent, and also on stage it has utility. Let me explain the utility with Dare. So Spear doesn't really have a stacked option in on the ground, right? Because look at Endlight. You have all of that dead zone. Especially if I'm hitting it like even here, it's not gonna hit my opponent. So the best thing to do, actually I should turn on hitboxes. Yeah, so Endlight doesn't have a good stacked option when grounded. So the best thing to do to cover this like inconsistency with Spear is to jump Dare, right? Or you could even like jump Nair, jump fastfall Nair or Dare. That'll catch your opponent when you're stacked. So yeah, that was kind of like a downside to Spear is just not having this option, but you could make do with it if you know how to implement Dare into your gameplay as a stacked option. Yeah, so Nair is Spear's best move by far. Nair like is a big circle hitbox around you. It's safe, it's fast, you could spam it. Like I mean, this move is crazy. I would use Nair kind of as your main approach option, to be honest. I would not approach with Sidelight. Maybe Endlight is a good approach tool, but honestly, the way like the how fast Nair is, I would definitely approach with Nair instead of all those. It's also a good tool to like cover your landings. So if I'm landing, I could just Nair because it's a big circle hitbox. So it's kind of like a dodge in and of itself, dude. All right, next off we have of course recovery. Now recovery is a good option. But what I see a lot of people do on Spear, which this is like this is something you don't want to fall into the habit of, is just recovering on the edge like this. Yes, it's safe, but like let's say like this. Like, a lot of players do that. Yes, it's safe, but once you get to higher elos, man, you're gonna get punished for that. It's like, it's way too predictable. If someone knows that you're gonna do that, they could just stand like a bit away and then punish you with it. So, yeah, I would not use recovery like that. And then we have ground pound, which I don't really need to talk about. It's just a ground pound. Next we have D-Light. D-Light is your main combo starter. So, in neutral, let's say I hit a D-Light, go for like a Sair or something. We'll get into true combos soon, but yeah, just for reference, D-Light is like your main combo tool. And it's really fast. It's a good move, especially in neutral when your opponent's playing floaty, like hopping like this. It's good to just catch him off guard with a Dare if you know they're jumping a lot. So yeah, that's the utility of D-Light. I might have said Dare, I don't know, I meant D-Light though. Alright, so let's just discuss some of Spear's strengths and weaknesses before we get into the combos and stuff. So I would say one of Spear's biggest strengths is juggling your opponent in the air. Like you can follow up from Nair to recovery into more Nairs. It's really good at just juggling your opponent in the air and keeping them checked, right? Not only that, but it's also good offstage. So you have the use of pogos, the use of ground pounds. You can kind of get easy KO confirms with these moves and a combination of these moves and like weapon throws. So of course, we already discussed one weakness, which is you don't have a stacked option when you're grounded. I mean, it kind of falls into Spear being a long-range weapon, so shorter range weapons like gauntlets and katars, obviously going to beat you out, but you could mitigate that damage if you know how to play Spear properly. Another weakness is Spear's inability to kill effectively, at least, because D-Light doesn't hit stacked. Oh, sorry, it doesn't hit grounded. It only hits aerial. So if you have a weapon like Sword, you could just do D-Light into recovery, D-Light side air, because it hits grounded. It's kind of fairly easy to use. With this, you have to catch your opponent jumping first, which is kind of a weakness. Still, though, it's not that big of a deal because a lot of people float in this game. So, all right. So now let's get into some true combos. All of these combos are on 7 decks Wushang, just for reference. So we have D-Light into side air, D-Light recovery, D-Light Nair. This one's not one I would do in a game, but you do have that Nair GC Endlight. I would never use that though, so. But I just thought it was funny. Anyways, what else do we have? That's kind of all your true combos, really. And yeah, you're mainly... Spear, it's not really a string weapon, right? Like, you get those 3 hits, and then you move back to stage, get stage control, and reset. You're not really playing to get heavy strings, unless you're juggling in the air. Let's get into just some quick strings. You have N-Light, dash N-Light. That's really good if your opponent kind of does nothing. So if he just, like, stands there... Oops. Yeah, if your opponent just stands there, this one's, like, bread and butter. A lot of people do not react off N-Light, so I would get this into your repertoire. Another thing you could do is dash side light. So they do nothing, dash side light or chase dodge, and then go for the full combo. Alright, another string, of course. I mean, this is the classic. Side light, D light into Sair. Or you could do the double D light too, which is a GC. So you hit side light, D light, GC D light, side air. You also have the option to recover. And you have the option, of course, to nair. Yeah, spear is mainly a weapon to decipher how your opponent reacts, right? So my opponent does nothing off dair. I go into a fast full or a chase dodge down nair. Hold on. Like, that'll catch them, right? Alright, now we have some in the air too. So let's say I hit a nair. I could go for a recovery. I could also go for a side air. It kind of just depends where your nair hits, right? You want to make that decision. You could also, like, if they do nothing, you could go for another nair if they just fast fall right back into you. So it kind of just depends what your opponent does. Yeah, another string I forgot. This used to be a true combo, but it no longer is. Beware of that. Side air into N-Light. Now, at some point in the future, this might turn into a true combo. And if that happens, then you'll see it in the comments, alright? I'll say it's a true combo now, but pretty sure. As of now, it's 2 dodge frames, unless I'm trash. So another thing to keep in mind with spear is knowing how far away you are from your opponent. So let's say I hit a side air and I'm too far to hit the N-Light, right? What I would do in this scenario, if I know my opponent jumps, is go for a D-Light. It's your best bet. Now, if you're close to him, of course, you have the option to go for the N-Light. Just use that because you can't jump out of it. It's unjumpable. So if you're close, N-Light him. If you're like too far to get the N-Light, and you notice he's jumping, go for the D-Light. But yeah, in general, spear is a react-heavy weapon. And what I mean by that is you want to keep track of what your opponent does throughout the game, as with any weapon, but especially spear. Because you don't really have that string potential. Oh my god, my cursor's on the screen. I've been annoying. I'm sorry about that. But, yeah, you don't really have the high string potential, let's say like orb or something. So, you just want to keep track of what your opponent does, when they jump, if they jump, where they dodge, that type of thing. And you can follow up with the appropriate moves. Alright, so let's do some dodge reads now. So, off a side light, if your opponent spot dodges, you can kind of wait them out and go for the double D light into the side air. You could also do this. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. You just dash and do it the other way. Depends where you want your opponent to be. So with up dodge, you have a couple options here. You could jump GC, D-Light into side air, or you could jump nair, or you could just recover. Now at later HP, I would just recommend the recovery because that's kind of like the best thing to do to kill him, right? So if he's at like 140 and he dodges up, he's dead. Okay, so dodging in, you just want to dash and do the D-Light the other way. It'll catch him. So yeah, that's your best thing for. You could also do this, dash back. I mean, simple stuff. That's the thing about this guide is I don't want to overcomplicate spear because in essence, it really is a simple weapon. So I'm not gonna like overbear you with information, unnecessary information at that. All right, dodge down. You could go for the double side light. That works. It is kind of risky though because side light keeps you in a lot of active frames. So your opponent, if you miss, your opponent's gonna punish you heavily. But you could also do stuff like a dare. You could go into an N-Light too. Catch their jump after or something like that. You kind of have the option there. Dodge away, really simple. Oh. You want to delay it and then jump, right? So let's look what I do here. I side light, delay it, and then go for the D-Light into Sair. Oh yeah. You also have this. This is like a really good option too. A lot of people don't use this, especially at lower elos. Side light, dash jump into reverse nair. This is a really good option because it's safe. You have a high hitbox, you could catch a lot of dodges with it, and you could follow up. So yeah, I would definitely go for this if your opponent dodges away. This is like a really good combo. So yeah, you have the option for basically every dodge. You have the option to either go for some sort of variation of a D-Light or some sort of variation of an nair. Okay, now off N-Light. Now N-Light, there's a couple things. So if your opponent spot dodges, you could just go into a side light. You could go into a same thing as I did with side light. So remember how I did this? Same thing, but now we're just doing it off an N-Light. It's the same input. You can even not reverse it if you want, but more optimal to reverse it. So that'll catch spot dodge as well. You also have the option to just dash into an end light, but delayed. That'll hit him too. Dodge up option, you go for D-light. So dash D-light, that'll work. You have the option also go for a recovery. And that's good at late HP, right? Because you want to kill your opponent. So if you know they're jumping or dodging up, really good idea to go for recovery as well. Yeah, so dodge in. I'll probably turn around side light if I could actually hit it. That, or I would dash back side light. I mean, you have the option. That, or just end light again. I mean, there's no limitations here. Even just kind of fast fall, or like, yeah, I would probably just chase dodge into a side light. That's probably what I would do. So yeah, dodge away. This one you want to chase dodge your second end light. So just like that, that'll catch him. You can also do a side light. Oh my god, went off stage. That's actually a good point. I just brought up here. So if your opponent gets sent to the edge like this, wait, hold on. Instead of going for the D-light, since you're off the edge and you're just gonna hit like a dare as a miss input, the best thing you could do is jump nair, right? Because it covers your opponent jumping, and yeah, it's safe because you're not like misinputting onto the edge like this. Some things people don't know about dare is that late HP, it's actually a pretty good kill like option because you're safe when you use dare, and you have a couple follow-ups that could kill your opponent. So if you know your opponent's kind of dodging up or jumping, you could go into a recovery off of dare, and that'll kill them. Let's say your opponent just doesn't dodge. In a certain specific scenario, you could kind of hit a D-light into, oops. You hit a D-light into side air, like just like I did there, and that could actually catch your opponent off guard. So it kind of just depends on what your opponent does, but dare is like a tool I don't see a lot of people use, especially at late HP. It's pretty good. Yeah, let's say your opponent dodges into you, could go into a nair, recovery. So yeah, dare is a hidden gem in the spirit kit, I'm telling you. I don't know if I covered this already, but just for the sake of it. If my opponent, let's see, has a jump reaction. So a couple things you could do here. If my opponent's in late HP, let's say. Actually, if he's in early HP, let's start with that. If he just jumps, you could go into a D-light right off the bat, off of the end light. So if you know he jumps and he doesn't dodge or anything, this is your best bet, right? Immediate D-light. Yeah, you could probably go for a D-light, or you could just go for a dash jump side air, right? This is what I do a lot. If I know my opponent's low HP, oops. I could just go for a dash jump side air. That'll hit. Alright, so now off nair. I mean, nair is kind of just self-explanatory with the dodges. So if you're stacked on him, you can just go again for another nair, or you could just recover. I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of self-explanatory. You don't really need to know anything specifically. If your opponent dodges up, it's kind of the same scenario. I would just recover. It depends where your opponent gets deflected off the nair, right? So if I hit it like that, I could go for a D-light. If I hit it like in another weird position like this, I could actually do the same thing. Let's say I do like this. Then I could just go for another nair, right? So if I do this, it comes right back into me. I could go for recovery after. It just depends where he gets deflected off that nair, that initial nair. You can even go for like a side light if it's more grounded. It really depends on the scenario. Yeah, so if they dodge down off recovery, kind of just hit them with the nair again. If it's kind of like weirdly done, you kind of just have to chase dodge down before hitting that nair. So that works for that. If your opponent's spot dodging off dare, go for a nair. If they're up dodging, go for a nair. I mean, everything's just basically nair or D-light, or it's really simple, man. There's nothing crazy about this weapon. In essence, that's really it for the spear combos. There's nothing really intense that you gotta learn about spear. It comes down more to reacting what your opponent does and following up appropriately. It's more of a react style of gameplay. Might just get into some like legend specifics now. I'll start off with Wushang since I'm already playing Wushang, so. Alright, so at late HP, if your opponent does nothing off of an end light, you could just dash into a side sig. Of course, you have the goated combo. You guys see me use this a lot in my videos. Side light into side sig, right? So this catches a bunch of dodges. So it'll catch neutral dodge if you delay it. Oops. Oh my god, I just randomly did that. Yeah. Only dodges it won't catch is dodge up and dodge in. So if it'll dodge down, it'll still hit, which is kind of crazy. So with Orion, you have the bread and butter. D-light, GC, and sig. That spikes your opponent down. And it's honestly a crazy tool because it'll set you up for a great offstage potential if they're in like earlier HP. You also have stuff like N-Light, D-Sig. You could, depending on where your opponent dodges, you could use it optimally. So if your opponent just spot dodges, you could just dash into them. Oh my god, that was wrong sig. You could just dash into them, D-Sig. Same thing if they dodge away. You just dash, you just chase dodge at this time, so you could do something like that. Alright, so on Kaya, if he dodges up, you could just side light N-Sig. That's another option I know people use. Did they nerf this? I wonder if it's true. Oh my god, still a true combo. That's crazy. Yeah, so on Queen Nine, you have a true combo, which is D-Light into N-Sig, which should not be true, and it's broken, but whatever. It is what it is, dude. Queen Nine, Bryn, Kaya, they all have good follow-ups off D-Light with their N-Sig. So Bryn also has a good one. This is not a true combo, but if your opponent has no dodge, this is a powerful one. I will tell you that much. So if your opponent has no dodge, go into an N-Sig, trust me. Look at that, like it's so powerful. So yeah, that's something you want to do on Bryn. Okay, well that's a true combo on 7. It's so stupid. Alright guys, that is basically it for this spear guide. It's kind of a shorter one, but it's because spear in it of itself is a very simple weapon. There's nothing really complex about spear. I still hope you guys enjoyed and learned something in this video. And I'm going to close out the video with just some clips of me playing spear, and hopefully you get an idea of the power spear has both off stage, in the air, and in neutral. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys want more guides, comment below what I should do next. I know Orb's a big suggestion. I'll probably get to that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!